You know, week 10, things have gotten a little bit colder down here. Alright. This is how we move around in this place. Nice little chair. Look. This is our heating situation here. This is all the heat that we have. And it's only in this room. And that's my desk over there. Right there. Boom. But yeah, heat. They overcomplicated this freaking instructions here. They're like, this, and whatever. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, why'd you overcomplicate it? And looking at things like, Elder Bringerhoff actually was looking at this thing. And he was looking at the safety things, and he's like, so basically, if we don't do anything wrong, we die. I'm like, I look at it. I tried the first time. I didn't press the button hard enough. So I'm like, probably I didn't do something right. So the next day, he walks away, and I decided to do it again. And I press harder on this button, ignition button, and it kicks off. And I get kind of scared because I heard a big boom, and I'm like, what? But it's now a warm boy. But yeah, week 10. That's the only warm thing in this house. And because everything else does not have a heater, and we don't know if our ACs or even our heater or AC units or whatever work. So that's the only source of heat we have. And yeah, some of the struggles you deal with as a missionary is that sometimes you only have to have that source of heat for a time until you can figure something else out. And so yeah, this week's been crazy. Well, not crazy, but just a lot of stuff happened, but it was still pretty good. So last talked was Monday morning, which is now Monday morning at 8:13. And yoink, yoink, yoink. So Zone P Day was actually pretty fun. We got to ride up to South Haven, Mississippi. South Haven, my bad, South Haven. And once everyone was there, we were playing volleyball, playing signs. Where signs is basically each person has their own individual sign. Oh, it's me, gosh dang. But and someone in the middle is trying to figure out who has the sign at the time, and it keeps bouncing it around. So you'd say, when someone gives you your sign, you do your sign back, and then you sign someone else's sign, and then they do that, and then it just goes in a circle. And the only way to get caught is that if you have the sign and you get touched by the person in the center. And I think I've talked about it before, but we have a deaf sister in our zone. Her name's Sister Bokweg, which is a pretty cool last name. But she's got, like, when we were playing the sign, she's just got this smirk. Like, she doesn't speak at all because she was born deaf. She's been deaf to her entire life, basically. And she's just got this smirk when we're playing this game. And every time I'm in the middle, she has that smirk, and I'm like, gosh dang it. I just need to know who has it, and it's not you, but you keep making the smirk while everyone else is laughing. And she's a fast signer too. And so even when playing the signs, when she gets the sign, she goes, she does that sign, and then when someone goes after her, she would like, because there's a lot of people tend, when people know they have the sign and they're coming, and the person in the center is coming after her, she would back off and then like kind of like screw her chair back and then do another sign, and then be bounced off. But it was a pretty intense game. But then we just did emails for a little bit, and then we ate. And then actually, I was still composing the group email from last week, and everyone else was playing basketball, and Sister Bokweg typed up a little message asking me if I liked basketball or did basketball or whatever. So we had this really good conversation back and forth, and we actually used the keyboard, and she was actually kind of jealous about that because she really liked my keyboard. And then it was a good conversation. She actually likes cross country too, which was pretty cool. And then we did an escape room, which was actually pretty fun. Our team didn't win, but it was still pretty cool. We actually got in for free. The guy's super nice. It was a family-owned business, and it was just super cool. And yeah, it was basically it for that day. Not much happened after. We just tried contacting a few people or not and whatnot. Tuesday we had district council, and I got a haircut. I don't know if people can tell, but I got a haircut. Then we visited with Cheryl, talking about the gifts of the Spirit and the plan of salvation. We visited Virginia Huckabee, read the Book of Mormon, and then after all that, we came back home and actually did a lot of room adjusting to make it more space, and actually to start up the heater, and then which we turn on and off. We don't keep it on at night because it's a gas heater and all that, but we have it on for part of the day. Then we leave and we have to turn it off. Then I made spaghetti. Yummy spaghetti. Wednesday was pretty long. Got stuff. We did our daily planning. Then we tried visiting one of the people that Elder Nelson and Elder Brinkerhoff, who were here during exchanges, as I talked about last week. That person, we talked to him about the Book of Mormon a little bit more. It was only short because he kind of forgot it was today. That was that day, but yeah, apparently he's had a lot of death in his life, so which sucks. And then came back, did studies, ate food, and then left to the Morrisons, talked with them for a little bit. Then drove all the way out to the Hardmans, have kind of like a final set place for Unique and Maricus. And then we ended up having to move the baptism again because the father, so apparently the week before, it was supposed to be that job, but then something else happened that caused it not to happen. So it moved to last Saturday, 2 days ago. And so we had to move it to this Wednesday, and which nothing's going to change now because that's during the week and that's okay. But it's going to be that. And actually, I will be doing I'm actually going to be doing their baptisms, which will be pretty cool. I'm excited. This would be I've done baptisms for the dead before, but this is my first time doing an actual baptism for these two. It's gonna be really good. I'm excited. And then after that, we went to we had dinner at this family's house. Her name is Sister Carpenter, Charlotte Carpenter. She's pretty cool. And her husband Marvin, and her. I don't know how these people are related anymore. But there was someone else there who usually sits with Charlotte all the time during church. We had choppy fish. It's a fish, which was pretty good. It was fried. And then we also had hush puppies, which is like a mix of like onions and different things. It's actually pretty good. But then, yeah, that was it for that day. But that was pretty good. We also talked about like temples and ceilings and how families can be together forever and all that. Thursday, we did our studies. It was slower of a day, but then we went over to Tiffany's house to check up on her, but she wasn't there. But in the process, there was this guy. We parked on the side of the street, and here's this road, and it's got this long pathway to the house, and her house is like way down there. So we parked on the street, and then we had to walk up to the pathway and go all the way up to her house. But in the process, this guy was driving by, and he's like, "You guys good?" And we're like, "Yeah." And so he just kept driving, and we just started walking. But then during that process, he turned around, because you don't see two white guys. Well, he was white too, but that doesn't matter. In white shirts and ties, in the middle of nowhere, a small town below Lamar, walking up to a house. And so I can understand why he was turning around, because he's like, what are these guys doing? And he just kept an eye. He just parked in that little. He kind of pulled into that little pathway thing a little bit, and then as we did that, as we knocked on her house, she wasn't there. So I was writing out the card, and he drove up, and he started talking to Elder Berghoff. His name's Joseph, and all that, and he was wondering what the heck we were doing. And then he drove out, and then he parked at this little farm opening. We didn't know, we weren't sure if it was his or not, but he was just sitting there, probably still watching us, just to make sure we're not gonna do anything stupid, which I don't blame him. But then we started walking back. We got in the car, and then he pulled up. He's like, "You guys have cards?" I was like, "Yeah." And so we wrote them out. We got a card, and I wrote our number and all that, and handed it to him. He's like, "Thanks." And then he drove off, and we haven't heard from him since, but it was interesting. And then we visited Pat and Floyd Martin, ate with them, and just talked about General Conference and all that, and just checked up on them. And then we switched into our service clothes and drove all the way to where Gary and Brandon were. They're at one of their fields, kind of like 12 miles out from their house. They were working on this big machine called the combine, which is basically just a harvester type thing. They collect beans, straw, and all that, does stuff with all that. They were working on it because it's having a lot of problems. So they were just fixing that. We were helping them with that, and they noticed they needed to get inside the middle. They switch out these pieces inside the middle of the combine, where in the center there was these like crankshafts or straw things that kind of help move back and forth to help produce the straw out on the back. They take out this little bar that kind of helps turn in everything and all that, and they're like, "We don't know how we're gonna get in there." Well, there was a pathway in, but it was like a tight space, and they all look at me. They're like, "Hotty toddy, can you get in there?" And I'm like, so I got in there. They had to move out this because there's a bunch of spikes everywhere, so they use this machine where this little lever thing, and they pulled it down so it can lay down, and they threw in a little cushion thing for me in there, And so I helped get all that stuff out. So that was pretty exciting. It was interesting to actually be in that. It wasn't that bad, actually. I kind of enjoyed it quite a bit. Had dinner after a while. We had dinner at Maki's. And then we visited Lynn Rogers. Talked with her for a while, which was good. And then we visited Georgia. And read Helaman 5, which was pretty good. And we're actually gonna have dinner with her family this week, which is actually something that's never happened before. But yeah, and then Friday. Gary said Thursday, he's like, "Oh, I may need you guys to come back to help put this thing back together." And so, but we'll let you know. And we're like, okay. So Friday, we started doing daily planning. And well, we do the animal shelter as usual. Then we come back and we get ready for daily planning. We start doing daily planning. We get a call from him. He was asking about something about Sunday at first. Then he hung up. And he's like, "Yeah, I'll figure it out if we need you guys." We start talking some more about daily planning after that call. And then we get another call. I was like, I need you guys up here. And I'm like, they're like, "All right, we'll let you know when we're coming." So we switch over to our gear. We drive all the way. We drive all the way to Gary's. We eat food there first, and then we get to the farm. And they brought a piece of carpet this time, so they could throw in, and so we can put this stuff back together. I was in that combine for 2 hours, laying in there, getting this stuff together. It was a pain in my butt, and like in week 13's video or email will have photos of my battle scars, as I call it, and just how dirty I was. Or just me inside the combine in itself. And these crankshafts, sometimes they had me push them up, because you can push them up or rotate them. So I was sometimes pushing one of them, because there's 1, 2, 3. Well, I was laying down. It's like 1, 2, 3. There's five crankshafts, and they're like, "All right, we need you to push up number 2," and I push up number 2, and it was like, "Oh, can you try pushing up 2 and 3?" I was like, "I'm gonna give it a try," and it was really hard to push up these 2 because they were mega heavy, but it was a good workout. I was holding those things for a while, and then after everything, we finally got all that stuff together, even though there was a nut that ended up missing, but they can always get new parts. And then after that, he took us to dinner, and we just talked for a while. And then Saturday, not a lot happened. We had weekly planning, and I got everything else in. And then we went out to try and contact people, but nothing was going on. Nothing was working. It was basically super slow. And then we're like, let's go to President's house. President Griffith, our branch president. And we call him. We say, "Hey, is it okay if we come over?" And he's like, "Sure." So we go over there, and we start talking about the branch and everything, and what was going on, and then all these details and stuff. It was really good. It really helped set what we need to do. And we had food there too. Chicken pot pie, I believe. Yeah, I think. And then also ice cream, of course. You can't leave their house without eating ice cream, basically. Then Sunday, we had church. Cheryl actually came because Sister Griffith picked her up, and she really enjoyed it, and she really liked it a lot, and that was really good for us. And we then, after church, and actually a couple other people that were less active showed up too, which was pretty awesome. And we then, after church, sat home for a little bit, and then we had to do some baptism stuff going on. And then we left to a house in Lamar called the Hills, because it was Dakota. It was the son's birthday last Thursday, and so they were doing this little get together thing, and we were hanging out there. One of the few of the members were there too, and we were sitting there, and the father's mother was talking to us and talking about how much dedication we put in, how she appreciates it. Even she's Baptist though, but we were talking about, we ended up getting this gospel discussion after like all these other discussions that kind of led up, and then we started talking about that. We started talking about like the gospel, and then about the plan of salvation. It wasn't really the best teaching environment, it really wasn't, but it was still pretty good. And they also had me sing. They noticed I was sweating bullets, because I've never been a personal favorite of my solo voice. I don't think it's that great. I really don't. But they said I did good, so alright, I'll take their word for it. But and during that whole conversation, the Brinkerhoff was kind of quiet because he was trying to listen in, trying to figure things out in that situation, but I did most of the talking, and I was nervous beyond compare, but it wasn't the best teaching environment, whatever. But then after all that, she accepted a Plan of Salvation pamphlet and thanked us for talking with her, and I apparently convinced her for something, which apparently she says that never happens, so I think it did good. And then we had dinner at the Roswell's and just talked about a lot of stuff. But yeah, that was this week. It was crazy, and that was 22 minutes basically. Gosh dang it. But it's fine. But alright, love you all. I will see you all next week. Bye.